Hi there, as you know by now, I use the GeneratePress theme and the Elementor page builder on all my projects. Now, they work together pretty well out of the box anyway, but I've just developed a few extra settings, tweaks, customisations, just to help them work together optimally. It kind of automates a few layout issues. The settings are really easy to put in place. I've got full written instructions on this page, but I just thought it'd be handy for you to see me putting them in action as well. So let's get started. Okay, so there are three reasons I make these particular custom settings. The first is just to automatically achieve consistency of layout. I always want to make sure that any layouts created by either GeneratePress or Elementor, they're always in line with each other. They always have the same gaps between columns. So, for example, check out the home page of my site. Now, the header here is part of the theme. The bit below it is created in Elementor, but just notice how they line up nicely. At the edges, it's all the same width. And if we just come across to the blog page, now this blog page is created entirely by GeneratePress, but just notice this gap between the columns. That's 20 pixels wide. Now this is actually the exact same gap between columns created by Elementor too, well, at least by default. The second reason is just to make sure that there's always some nice spacing or padding at the edges of the screen on mobile. So not only that, I just want to make sure it's the exact same padding, whether that particular bit of the page was made by the theme or by the page builder. And the third and final reason is it's a fix for a small problem caused by how Elementor creates the spacing around its columns. So if you leave things as a default, you often end up with layouts that don't align properly with other elements of your designs. On this quick test page I've made, you can see I've only my GeneratePress header. This isn't created in Elementor, but we're going to want layouts that we create with Elementor to line up with everything else properly. So let's add a 3-column section. Now, if you come over to this section settings, this is where you set the spacing between the columns. It's the column gaps. Now, by default, if you just leave it at default, the gap between columns is 20 pixels. And this is actually achieved by putting a gap of 10 pixels all the way around each column. That's what the default setting does. Now, the problem is, not sure if you can see at this stage, but the left edge of my left column here is actually pushed in 10 pixels. So it's not in line. It's not in line with the left edge of my header. Now it's actually the same at the right edge too, but it's probably not as clear. But if we come back to the column gap settings and just change that to extended. Now this adds 15 pixels padding all the way around the columns. So now we've got 30 pixels between the columns, which is fine. That might be what you want. But the edge of the column here, the left edge of the column, is now pushed in by 15 pixels. Now, if we change that to wide, it becomes 20 pixels, and we change it to wider, it becomes 30 pixels. And with each different setting, the misalignment of the layout just gets worse and worse. So let's just have a look at what it looks like when we put my fix in place. I'll explain the actual fix shortly, but I just want to explain to you why we put that fix in place. So if you just look at this, the page now that I've put the fix in place, I can change column gap settings, and you can see that still everything stays nicely lined up. Now the guys at Elementor, they do tell me that they're working on creating a global setting. They are aware of this, and they're creating some sort of global settings that you can set this how you want. I don't know how that will work, but right now, just for me and all the other designers I've worked with, this little fix right now is working really well.